Hello, podcast listeners. Jordan River here. Thank you for tuning in to Growcast. I've got an awesome guest today, Michael Harinen. I've been speaking with this guy off air for a while, and he's from Bluebird Botanicals, and I wanted to give him a platform to speak because he's a really great guy. And we talk about CBD and how that's affecting growers and hemp and all sorts of cool stuff, so I'm excited to get into it. Before we jump in, though, let's give a little love to today's sponsor, Danny Danko, and his new book, Cannabis, A Beginner's Guide to Growing Marijuana. You can get it by going to growcastpodcast.com/Danko, and Bloom members can get their book signed if they email us at contact@growcastpodcast.com when they order. That's right, Danny Danko, a master cultivator and an editor at High Times Magazine, wrote a book. It's called Cannabis, A Beginner's Guide to Growing Marijuana, and it's great for beginners and experienced growers alike. So get yourself a copy today by going to growcastpodcast.com/Danko. Okay, everybody, thank you so much. Let's get into the show, everyone. Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to Growcast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. Before we get started, please tell a friend about Growcast, share the show with a friend, a grower, someone who you think would enjoy. Also, check out Homegrown Helpers, Rob Smith's cannabis growing podcast. Our producer, Rob Smith's doing great over there. And check out the Coffee, Health, and Science podcast, my new show. I appreciate you guys migrating over there. I see you guys doing that, and I appreciate it. Today's episode, I'm very excited about. Talking about CBD, you know, it's a hot topic in today's society, and I'm excited to speak to today's guest. Michael Harinen is the Chief Brand Officer for Bluebird Botanicals, a CBD company that I've had my eye on for quite some time. How are you doing today, Michael?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show, Jordan.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Really appreciate it. For the listeners, can you give a little bit of a background, how Bluebird got started, what its core values are, and what its mission statement is?
Yeah, of course. So Bluebird Botanicals actually got started in 2012. So Brandon Beatty, he's the founder and now CEO of the company. And he started a company that was, at the time, basically just superfoods. But not just any superfoods. He's a pretty eccentric, amazing guy. And he was seeking out superfoods that not a lot of people knew about. So things like shilajit or pine pollen or even tea pollen and even ant extract. So there were some weird things in the beginning of Bluebird. But from the day that it started, Brandon was all about helping people to find alternative paths to wellness. And he has been a lifelong cannabis advocate as well. So as soon as he got wind of CBD, he started researching it like crazy and really got fascinated by what CBD is and what it could potentially do for people. So he went on this whole journey to find out at the end that he could technically, through a few, legal loopholes, sell CBD nationwide here in the U.S. So Bluebird was the third company that started selling CBD products here in the U.S. and the first company to be selling them globally.
Wow.
And it started in October of 2013 with our Hemp Classic blend. And really from there, it just grew like crazy. And at the time, it was a fascinating place to be. And I'm sure a lot of growers that listen to your podcast can relate to kind of working in either a black market or in a legal gray area.
Right. Absolutely.
Where there's some loopholes that they can squeeze themselves through, but they might not hold up so airtight or watertight in the court of law. But really, from the beginning, like I said, Brandon's goal was to bring alternative paths of wellness to people. And with that, cannabis was such an amazing plant to him that he was willing to take the risk. So I came on the company in early 2014, and in those times, it was kind of a scary time to be operating because we were sourcing these hemp products and creating good quality products and selling them to a bunch of people. And every day there was a fear that maybe the DEA or the FDA or some other government organization would be kicking down our door with assault rifles, saying, freeze, everybody get on the ground. And there was that constant kind of anxiety in the back of our heads. But what balanced that out for us was knowing that regardless of what the legal status was of the plant, that we were on the right side of moral law. And that's really been one of our big MOs as a company all throughout our years of operation.
That is a good guiding principle.
Yeah, absolutely. There's things that are, of course, legal and illegal, and there's things that are moral and immoral. And what's most important to us is that we are doing things that feel good to us, and we're making a difference in people's lives. So what really set us apart at the beginning was that we were the company that would answer our phones, because the other companies that were operating too, they were using those same legal loopholes, and essentially we're saying, we offer these products, but don't try to contact us. We won't sell anything. Like, you give us money, we send products in the mail. That's the end of our transaction.
Right. Because they don't want to be liable.
Being a bunch of Exactly. Yeah. And the more you put yourselves out there, the more you open yourselves up to scrutiny. So, there were times when we'd answer the phones and we weren't sure if it was the FDA, checking in on us and seeing what we would say as far as health claims or not say. So we've been very tight-lipped about any sort of health claims. One, because we don't want to get in legal trouble, and two, because we don't want to sell false hope to people either. There's amazing things that CBD and cannabis in general can do for people, but we don't want to be making any sort of promises saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to help with that,"
right?
Or it's definitely going to cure
because
your
we
X,
are
Y, or
still
Z.
learning that. Yeah, there is still so much unknown. That's a good point.
Yeah, exactly. And it's as with everything in life. There are certain things that work in our medicine for some people, and they're poison for others.
Yeah.
We all have unique bodies and unique environments that we're in our lives. And so that, we can't say a blanket statement like it's good for X, Y, or Z, because that's not going to be true for most of the population.
Yeah.
There's going to be some that it's going to be very true for, but we don't want to do that to people.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think there's that overall balance, and what you're saying right now kind of plays into that, which is, you were talking about that kind of gray area. When you're getting into these industries and these revolutionary fields, first in is definitely lucrative, but it also puts a target on your back, and that's the balance, right? So
Right.
Because you took that risk, I assume you were rewarded because you were one of the first names in. You have a lot of time to establish yourself. You hope you don't grow so much that your head gets taken off by the lawnmower, but right, you know what I'm saying? But that seems to be the balance, is balancing being first in and having all those benefits to that. But that also puts a target on your back. So it really seems like your timing was ideal, which is you got started right at the tail end of things before it became truly ubiquitous. And now everybody is, aware of the term CBD, if not using it themselves.
Absolutely. And a big part of that balance too, like I said, we wanted to be on the right side of moral law. And with that, we truly believe that this can be important for people's health. And we wanted to be the people that could guide people on their journey. So like I said, not making promises, but just being human beings
Right.
on the phone with our customers, meeting them where they're at. Some of our customers that call us up, they got a recent health diagnosis that they haven't even shared with their family yet, because they're too scared about what it will do, about
Right.
what people will think, about the sadness and the grief that will come with it. So really it's, there's a lot of just presence and being there for people that, like, in our hearts, when we get off phone calls like that, or when we answer emails like that, we just know that we're doing the right thing. And that is worth more than any amount of gold and any amount of coffers.
That's
like,
awesome,
this
man.
is, it's really like, on our deathbeds, we're going to look back at our lives, and we're not going to think about how many millions of dollars we made in a deal. We're going to think about, did we show up in a way that felt good to us? Were we open-hearted? Were we honest? Were we trustworthy? And those are the most important things to us, because we want to live fulfilled lives.
I love that, man. You're speaking my language. I do want to talk about your product standards at Bluebird, though, because you guys are pretty strict, I guess you could say, about your product standards, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you only source organic products? Do I have that right?
So we source organic hemp as much as possible. The problem is that, one, there are some concerns with like there not being strict organic certification qualifications for hemp, because it's a fairly new crop.
Right.
So most of the qualifying agencies, they don't know what's good for hemp and what's not good for hemp. And two, organic doesn't mean a whole lot if you're not taking good care of the plants.
True.
Like, you can go ahead and be using, only natural herbicides,
inputs, yeah, but then have a bug infested plant that is it's all messed up and low quality. That's a good point.
Yeah, exactly. So the most important part to us, like, we try to source out organic when we can, but oftentimes that's a secondary consideration, because our primary consideration is, what are our farmers doing to the land? are they taking care of their land? Are they practicing regenerative agriculture? Are they making sure that they're maintaining soil health and not depleting topsoil?
Oh,
Are
you're speaking my language here.
Do they have biodiversity? Yeah, it's those kinds of things are so much more important to us because it's really, it's a sustainable long-term play, and it also makes the best plants.
Yes.
Like you can have a gigantic field of certified organic whatever, and if there's pesticides that drift from the nearby field and you don't test because you're like, I'm, Farmer Joe organic and I don't touch my plants with any chemicals, but you have pesticide drift. Doesn't matter how organic your growing was. If you don't take care to protect your fields and if you don't take care to do the proper testing, even if you don't use those pesticides, you're 100% positive that you've never put pesticides on your plant or anything like that, they can still show up. So it's really, it's more of a very wide and very thorough list of qualifications that we run all of our partner farms through to ensure that they're taking care of their land and they're taking care of their plants in a way that make a really wonderful, sustainable, long-term product.
Right. And from your side, that must be, well, not easy, but easier than from the consumer side. When I speak to consumers, some of the biggest questions that they pose are things like, how can I recognize a trustworthy CBD product? How do I know that I'm not getting a low quality product or ripped off?
Yeah, it's such a tough thing, and we hear it all the time too. Because anyone with a couple $1,000s in Photoshop can make a quality looking product,
right,
and not have anything quality in it. So it can be very confusing. You can't tell by the label of a bottle whether it's quality product or not. So really, and that's been a conversation that's been happening in the hemp industry since the beginning.
Right.
And just recently, about a year and a half ago, I would say that the most reliable and easily identifiable mark of quality that's come in the hemp industry is this group called the U.S. Hemp Authority. So they are essentially like a self-regulatory organization that's built within the hemp industry. And it's basically, you can, as a CBD producer or a hemp producer, you can write to the U.S. Hemp Authority and say, hey, I'd like to get my product certified. And for a small fee, they'll come in and they'll do all of the checklists. It's basically like similar to like a CGMP checklist that the FDA would run on. So they check all of your files, they look at all your sourcing, they look at all your testing, they look at a number of different things, how you market your products, whether you're making impermissible claims or not. And after they run through that whole thing, they'll give you recommendations. And once you make those recommendations and you're sure, or they're sure that you're operating within the standards that they set, they'll give you a mark to use on your marketing materials or on the labels of your bottles.
Okay, so that's like a fair trade or some sort of seal like that shows you when you underwent some sort of testing. Do you find that they do a good enough job, a rigorous enough job, and their standards are high enough when it comes to quality specifically?
I think that their standards are high enough for sure. Mm-hmm. And I also know that, like as with any sort of certification, it can be gained. A company can put on a good mask for when they're there and say, oh yeah, look, we do all these testing.
Right. You can't avoid that. You can't avoid that in any way in any industry, I don't think.
Right. And I think that's, it's not in the U.S. Hemp Authority at all, but that's of course, like as with any, shiny badge that a company can get,
right.
It's best not to trust it at face value. If customers are looking for a real quick rubric to say, should I buy this product or not? That's a really easy way to kind of like, I don't want to do a lot of research. I just want to know if the CBD product is good. If you see that stamp on the bottle, chances are it's good. But then if you really want to get in depth about what a customer can do, if they're really focused on their health and they want to make sure that they're getting a potent and pure product, is contact that company or look at their website and find out what they do as far as their testing goes. If it's a reputable company, they should be testing every single batch of product that they make for a number of things, primarily, of course, cannabinoid potency. So you want to see that if you're buying this bottle, you are getting what you're paying for.
Right. You're actually getting CBD.
Like half as much CBD.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And also the THC levels, which you may or may not be after, depending on, your choice.
Right. Exactly. So they should be testing for CBD and THC at the bare minimum. But also it's nice to see those minor cannabinoids too, like CBC or CBG or CBN. So to see if there's any of those in there. And also, like, if it's a really good company and they take their product seriously, they'll probably do terpene testing as well. And of course, I don't have to, go through the whole terpene conversation with a lot of the growers listening on this podcast. But, terpenes have strong alternate effects
Big time.
when cannabis is consumed. So it's if you are familiar with terpenes and you're really a geek about it, hopefully that company has terpene testing as well. If you're a customer that just wants a real quick, like, I just want to know how much CBD is in it because that's what I want to be taking. You don't have to worry about the terpene testing, but it's just another sign that the company is going to the next level if they also do terpene testing on their products.
Mm-hmm.
But then even, I would say, like, just as important, if not more important, is that these companies should be doing purity testings too, because something that, not a lot of people know about hemp, and it's, not huge in the indoor cannabis grow space either, because, you don't have as many variables that you're working with, is that the cannabis plant is a bioaccumulator.
Right.
So what that means is that if you plant hemp or any sort of cannabis in an outdoor field or in any sort of grow medium, really, it's going to take a lot of what's in that soil.
Sure.
And it's going
if
to
there's a
suck
lot
it
of
up and
mercury in
distribute
that
it throughout the
soil.
plant.
Yeah.
Exactly. Heavy metals are a big thing to look out for. But also it can, sap up pesticides that were used in the land, herbicides, fungicides.
Right.
There are so many things that the hemp plant will take up and distribute. So a good company, once again, will test for purity, and once again, test every batch, not just have some random COA from a lab from 2017 saying, look, we do testing. Like, we've got this COA from a third-party lab. But do good testing for every batch for these really important things, because, if someone, gets a potent product, but then it is just laden with heavy metals or some other contaminant, it could be more deleterious to their health than beneficial. And if you're looking for a product for your health and wellness, the last thing you want is to make you sicker.
100%.
So those are important things to look for.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I actually don't see a lot of that, especially when you leave the West Coast. It's all across the nation now, these CBD products. And looking at CBD products in the Midwest specifically, you'll see a dosage, like a potency readout on the back, but that's it. I'm telling you, you really don't see most of this stuff. I mean, from your perspective, what do you see? Do you see a lot of people, a lot of CBD producers doing these steps? Talk to me about mistakes that you're observing other CBD companies making.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's a huge one. I mean, not testing is number one. Like I said, hemp is a bioaccumulator. And even, like I said earlier in the conversation, even if a company is like, we're USDA organic, we only source good organic plants, trust us. You should still look for those potency and purity testings, because the purity, like I said, if a farmer is even 20 miles downwind from a conventional farm and that farm is spraying like crazy, and the wind blows onto the crops, they're thinking, I've got a clean crop, I don't have to do any sort of testing, I'm good. And they'll do their extraction, they'll end up concentrating down those contaminants, and you'll end up with an unpure product. So, the not doing testing is a huge thing. And really with that, like, it's just a sign of a larger kind of motion within our society. It's we live in a capitalist society, and there's so many things that are beneficial from that. We have a lot of talent that gets fostered, because if you can do a really good job at anything, you can make a good living, and it's a motivational force, and it's a big part of what made the U.S. where like what
unrivaled innovation. Yeah, I think that even gets lost a little bit, how miraculous the innovations are from the society we've crafted. It's really easy to see all the damage that we've done and are still doing. But you're right. The innovation that was created is, if you learn history, absolutely unrivaled.
Yeah, and it really is amazing. And just with any system, there are benefits and there are drawbacks.
Right.
And one of the drawbacks to living in a society like this is that when there's a new craze, like the CBD craze that's currently happening, there are a bunch of people that rush in with the gold rush attitude, and all they've got is big shiny dollar signs in their eyes.
100%.
That say, oh man, this is a way to make a quick buck. And with a quick buck, I can go ahead and retire to Costa Rica and not work another day in my life. This is a dream come true. I'm going to make $1 million with CBD and get the heck out. So you get people like that rushing in, and they do not care about cutting corners. They could care less if they're providing an impure or an impotent product. It doesn't matter to them. They just want to make that quick dollar and get out as quick as possible.
Well, it's the same thing with the cannabis boom. There were a lot of down and dirty growers who were not in it for a quality product. So I see what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, we're seeing a proliferation of those companies as the volume is getting louder and louder in the hemp and CBD space. That really, it makes the consumer journey so damn confusing. And it makes companies like those companies you were saying, and I don't want to, say that all the companies that just test for potency are bad, because I'm sure that there are plenty of good ones out there. But if they really knew what they were doing, they would be testing for purity as well.
I'm just stunned that it doesn't happen more.
Education.
That's what stuns me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a huge thing, is lack of education. And that actually brings me to another point I have for things other companies are doing wrong in this industry. So the first one being, not testing, not making sure that they have a pure and potent product.
Yeah, and if they are, they're not showing it, because I look and I don't see it.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe they're just bad marketers. I don't know. There's something going on there. But the other one is misinformation and miseducation. So there's so much education to be done, and that's still today, but especially at the beginning, that's primarily what we do. Is we spend sometimes hours on the phone with our customers answering all their questions, because there is so much misinformation out there. And the problem is that there's a lot of companies out there that are either knowingly or unknowingly helping to spread that misinformation. So it's kind of like a good example for that is extraction methods. So there's a lot of people out there that are, whatever extraction method they use, that's the best one.
Of course.
Undoubtedly, it's the best one.
Of course.
I use CO2 and I'm so proud of it. And I'm going to shout it from the rooftops that if you use anything but CO2, you are screwing your customer. And then other people, ethanol provides a better range than CO2, and it all is evaporated out. There's no residual ethanol. Ethanol is the best way. And if you use anything else, you're just wasting your customers' money. So there are so many things out there that just because a company does it, they then market it as the only way forward. And if you use any other company that uses any other extraction method, then, my friend, you are in trouble.
That's such a good point.
It's just horrible.
Yeah, the growers act the same way.
Yeah, and people are trying to do their research. Like, we get customers on the phone that call us up and they're like, I am so confused. Please help me. Because I've read in 4 different blogs that 4 different extraction methods or 4 different types of cannabis are the best ones. And if I use anything else, then I'm a numbskull. I have no idea what's true right now. Please help me figure it out.
Right.
And I think, what the cannabis industry in general, both hemp and in medical and recreational, needs is a true dose of humility and honesty. We need to be able to say, like, just to be able to say truthfully and honestly what we're doing, and without disparaging other people. Because it's like, if you get to the top by stomping on a lot of shoulders and heads, that's not going to be a very comfortable top. There's going to be a lot of people that are pretty angry at you. And it just really, it feels disingenuine to me.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. I think you're right.
People in their marketing.
Yeah, but you have a, like, I don't know, it sounds like you have a pretty fair and balanced view. I think a lot of it is also, entrepreneurs tend to be very like fanciful. I feel like everyone's trying to create their own little recipe, and everyone thinks that they cracked the right. Everyone thinks that they cracked the code, and that their way is like this is like the same thing with growers who I see like using little tricks and stuff. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think that some of it is less animosity and more like, and I'm an entrepreneur. This is me too. Like, you believe in your own shit. You really get hyped up on your own stuff. You know what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's malicious at all. And I think it's one of those things where, like, we're human beings and we are prone to all sorts of cognitive biases.
Exactly.
And we don't know what we don't know, and we don't see what we don't allow ourselves to see. So if we're so hyped on the method that we've created, because we've spent months and years of tinkering and figuring it out, and we found the best thing that works for us and for our products, we want to say, like,
that's our new religion. Yeah, totally. This is it.
we put so much time and energy into it. Like, this has to be the way.
Totally.
This has to be the best way. And I don't blame those people for doing that. And I'm just, one of the things that I ask when I see those things happening is, hey, like, tone it down just a little bit. Like, I'm happy that you're so proud of what you've done. And also, just because what you've done seems like the best thing ever from your perspective, doesn't mean that it honestly is. And you can
Yes.
be very proud of it. You can be so proud, and you can explain all the benefits as you see them. But to put down other people and tell them that they have inferior products because they're not using the special patented technology that you've created over many, many years,
Right.
that's just it's not genuine.
That's
So
not right. You're
I
totally
completely
right.
understand that. And yeah, and I also, like, I praise people for that innovation. Like, it's amazing. And you're not going to get your idea out there if you don't, speak with some authority and
True.
speak with some loudness. So I absolutely respect what people are doing there. It's just, a little bit of dose of reality is always helpful. And I think it also makes you a little bit more genuine. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that I see that are shouting from the rooftops, but no one's listening because they're shouting abrasively, and they're really
Yes.
not doing it in a way that's connecting.
That's true.
And if with just a little dose of truth, and a little bit of humility, I think that it creates for a much more accessible company and a much more accessible technology or whatever it is that someone's trying to sell. So with that honesty, people can feel that. People
I
can
agree.
feel when they're being lied to, or if like something is being exaggerated. So if you're just honest and you're proud in what you've done, I think customers are going to vibe with that. They're going to hear that. They're going to feel that, and they're going to want to buy your product.
100%.
That's just an ask that I have generally within the industry is, stop the misinformation, stop the shit throwing onto other people just because they're not using your thing. And just be honest and be true.
All right, before we dive back in with Michael, let's give a little love to Sweet Leaf Plant Nutrients, everyone. Go to sweetleaf.com, SUITELEAF.com. Promo code GROWCAST15 gets you 15% off your Sweet Leaf just for listening to this show. And members of mygrowpass.com get 25% off their Sweet Leaf Nutrients. Sweet Leaf Nutrients, everybody. Smart plant nutrients made in the US of A. And sponsored by Danny Danko, the longtime cultivator and High Times editor. So check it out, everybody. People have been killing it with Sweet Leaf. Hota Herb, you've heard him on the show. Elaine Keevan, you've heard her on the show. These are people who are crushing it with Sweet Leaf, and a lot of their growers are winning awards as well. I understand that they just won another one, but I'm looking at a bunch right in front of me here. Best Nutrients of 2018, first place Best Edible, second place Best Flower, third place Best Flower, Best Flavor Enhancer in 2018, Best CalMag Amendment. That's right, check out their CalMag, guys. I heard it's a very, very good CalMag product. If you've been thinking about switching nutrients or switching CalMag supplements, check them out. Sweetleaf.com, GrowCast15 for 15%. MyGrowpass.com when you're ready to save 25. All right, everyone, let's jump back into the show. Do you feel surprised that there aren't more CBD companies out there taking advantage and checking all these boxes, like, going organic as much as they can, all the testing, in-depth testing? I feel like, if you take a look at the way that just general consumer purchasing has gone in the past, I don't know, a few decades, you take a look at food and how more and more people are becoming conscious of if their food is organic. They're becoming conscious of how their food was produced, what it costs, the sustainability impacts, how it's packaged, stuff like that. I feel like CBD is just in line for that same craze and that same kind of wave of high standards. Are you surprised there aren't more people doing more like what you do?
I'm truly not surprised. And this is for a couple of reasons. One of them is that it takes a lot of work to create.
That's so funny. I'm sorry to cut you off right at the beginning of your answer, but I work with Purity Coffee, and that's the same exact thing. Like, Purity Coffee tests and retests and does all this stuff. And I'm not surprised more people don't do it because it is a ton of work. It's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it's taken us years to create the quality assurance program that we have, and a lot of hard work and a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of money. So I'm really not surprised that more people aren't doing it. It's kind of like I think that it's a great challenge. Like, if someone's up for it and they're in it with their hearts, I welcome people to be having that goal in the future and really chasing after it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a lot of work, and I understand that isn't everyone's cup of tea. They want to sell a simple product, or like they're a small grower and they just want to make their own products and sell it at the farmer's market and have their happy customers. And I think that there's a lot of integrity in that as well. Mm-hmm. If a company doesn't want to check off all of the boxes, because that's not what they're going for.
Sure.
I mean, more power to them. If they have customers that are happy with their product and they're doing the best they can and they're making good products, I think that can be a wonderful thing. So it's really like I said, it's the amount of work, and it's also the amount of people that, like I said earlier in the conversation, that are they're looking to make money, and it's really expensive. So if they're just looking to make money and their goal is I'm going to create this company, I'm going to create the supply chain, I'm going to
keep it cost effective,
customers, and I'm going to go to market, and I'm going to sell the company in 2 years. Like, that's my exit strategy. I'm going to start the company, develop it, sell it in 2 years. They might not want to create all that extra legwork because it's a lot of work and a lot of money.
That's true.
So those people that are just looking to make a quick buck by riding this big wave, it doesn't surprise me that they're not going for it either.
Makes sense.
Like I said too, it's just I challenge any company that wants to stick around and wants to make an impact and really wants to help their customers out, to go for those goals, to really do the best they can, and also, not to just go for the shiny badges like I was talking about before too, because the shiny badges are great as far as marketing collateral goes. But if you really want to make the best product possible and help people in their lives, there's so much more involved, like we were talking about with regenerative agriculture and really paying attention to the longevity and sustainability of your business practices.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's a lot of challenge there, and I welcome anybody to step up and join us.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it makes sense to me that all that work probably not so enticing to a new startup that might be crunched for cash and that sort of thing. But I feel like, as much as everyone would like to have all those boxes checked, it's really quite a challenge. So that makes sense to me that you did answer like that.
Yeah.
But let me talk to you about CBD delivery systems, CBD products. I'm seeing more and more creative ways, CBD patches and soluble powder and all this stuff. What are some of the more creative CBD delivery systems you've seen, and what do you think might be the next, well, maybe not the next big craze, but a delivery system that we might not expect to take off?
Well, I think the biggest one that I've noticed that was kind of like a whoa that exists is CBD suppositories.
Oh, no kidding.
That one was kind of a shock to me.
That doesn't surprise me, man.
Yeah,
Totally. For my coffee podcast, we talk about coffee enemas, and there's actually a lot of science, like with what's going on back there and the ability to uptake certain compounds. That's so interesting. I've never seen a CBD suppository, but that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, we could have a whole conversation about coffee enemas. I live in Boulder, Colorado, so the crunchiest of the crunchy is all there everywhere.
That's right, man. Every doctor that I talk to on that show is talking about coffee enemas. I can't bring myself to do it. But apparently I just spoke with Ben Greenfield from our other show too, and he says it too. We were talking about his morning routine. Once a week, coffee enema. Cool. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is a real thing.
If you ever make your way out to Boulder, Colorado, I know a guy.
You know a guy? You have a coffee enema guy?
Sure thing.
I love it. But yeah, CBD suppositories. Yes.
Yeah, CBD suppositories. The patches, they've been around for a while, and they're really fascinating. And one of the things that I just have to say here about all of these is it's right now, all of those different methods are not FDA approved, and they're actually, like, the FDA would crack down on them if they had the time and resources.
Interesting.
Because the only thing that hemp products are approved for at this point is in food, or food includes dietary supplements under a wider umbrella.
Okay, interesting.
And even then, the FDA is still working towards more clarity on it, and they're hopefully coming out either late this year or early next year with that additional clarity that will really blast open the doors of the CBD space. But at that time, or even at that time, suppositories, patches, any delivery method that is not ingesting it, putting it in your mouth and swallowing it down, or putting it in food and eating it, is against the law, because those are drug delivery methods. And for something to be included in the drug delivery method, it has to be a drug. So there's really, that those things are fascinating. And I think that there's a lot of, like, really cool rogue science going on where people are tinkering and figuring things out and making some really interesting products. I'm not sure about the efficacy because I've never used any of these alternative delivery methods, but I think it's fascinating. It's just illegal.
Exactly.
And Yeah, so we would never sell those products as a company, just to make sure that we're keeping on the straight and narrow. But I think that the technologies that are fascinating at this point are those water dispersible ones that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one thing that I want to clear up about that is a lot of people will say that they have a CBD powder that's water soluble, but that's not possible because
Oh,
CBD is hydrophobic. So it won't
of course.
attach itself to water
It's like
molecules.
mixing oil and water, literally.
Yep, exactly. So it's lipophilic, hydrophobic. It's not going to mix into water. But what's happening there is it's water dispersible. So they encapsulate a CBD molecule or whatever it is that they're working with. So you'll see things like liposomal CoQ10 or liposomal vitamin C. So it's the same technology, just applied to CBD, where they apply a layer of molecules around. They create a sphere of molecules around the CBD molecule.
Mm-hmm.
And these molecules, they're basically bipolar. So they have one end is hydrophobic and the other end is hydrophilic. So the hydrophobic end points in towards the CBD, so the CBD will attach to it, and the hydrophilic end will point outwards in the sphere around the molecule, so that water molecules will attach to it. So it basically creates a nice dispersion within the water. And what's interesting about these technologies is a lot of people that talk about how it's a different sort of delivery method that actually is processed differently by the body. So they talk about it bypassing the digestive system and going straight into the bloodstream, which might be true. The only problem is that there's no verified scientific research about it at this point.
How could that be the case? I don't get it.
There.
You're drinking it, but it bypasses your digestion?
Yeah, so essentially, like we drink water, but most of it at some point in the digestive system gets out. So it will either pass through the tight junctions in the stomach or in the intestines. So most of the water that we drink, it's not actually digested; it gets shuttled into the bloodstream.
As opposed to like eating an edible, a solid edible.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
so that gets digested, and then that's usually goes through the liver for multiple passes, and then you get a whole bunch of byproducts of THC or CBD that are similar but different potencies and act on different systems of the body. So it's a really fascinating thing.
Yeah.
And before we really would say oh yeah, this is an amazing technology that should be embraced. It just needs to be more scientific research because there are so many byproducts, like I said, that are created through digestion. And those byproducts might actually be more effective than CBD itself.
Right.
So, when someone says, oh, it bypasses digestion, so you get more CBD into your bloodstream, even if that's true, we don't know if it's effective.
Right.
So
medically effective.
This is something that we're paying really close attention to these technologies, and we've been talking with a lot of our partner extractors about these technologies and the possibilities of implementing them. But until there's really good scientific research, we're not going to be shouting that one from the rooftop because we want all of our products to be verifiable and to make sure that we're putting something out there that we truly believe in. And right now, the science just isn't there.
That's fascinating, man. Yeah, and I can't imagine that could be problematic, the bypassing of the digestion. But like you said, there may be some reactions going on that you're missing out on to make it less effective. But I couldn't imagine that it would be unhealthy or anything like that. But I guess that remains to be seen. Let's see here, man. Before we wrap it up, talk to me about Bluebird, bluebirdbotanicals.com for all you listeners. What's going on at Bluebird? What does the future look like in 5 or 10 years if everything goes right?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things is that, right now we're really focusing on mass market and distribution because there's a lot of these big natural food retailers or grocers that are opening up their doors to CBD products. Some of them are kind of dipping their toes in the water with topicals only. Other ones are saying doors open, come on in.
Right.
So we really, we want to be one of those products on the shelves. I mean, one, because it's good for our business, and two, because we truly believe in our product and we trust all of the effort that we put into it. And we want people to have a good experience of CBD because, if someone picks up a random bottle of CBD off the shelf and it's not a good product, they might write CBD off for the rest of their lives, even though they could have had benefit from it.
I see that all the time, man.
CBD, I tried it, didn't do anything for me, never again.
I went to the gas station, I got CBD, and it did nothing.
No surprise there, right?
Yeah. I see your point, though.
focusing on that mass market distribution is really kind of like what we're going to be keyed in on for, the foreseeable future for the next couple of years. And then from there, really international, because there's so much support to be provided from hemp all around the globe. And some countries rather are starting to open their doors and experiment as well, like these mass market retailers. And we'd really like to work with other countries and get our products to them as well. So, growing in the hemp, pushing hemp forward. We've always been advocates of the plants, and we've been a big part of forging the language in the 2014 and the 2018 farm bills. We've been, donating a lot of time and resources and energy and money to making sure that hemp is treated equitably and that we have a good pathway forward. So we'll continue that, likely in other countries as well. And then also, my personal dream, just as the brand officer here and a big hippie at heart living in Boulder, Colorado, is that I really hope to really use Bluebird and use the platform that we've created and the audience that we've created to really spread the message of health and wellness. Regardless if CBD is right for a person, there are so many things that we could be doing better to our bodies and to our minds. Things like meditation, things like eating a healthy diet or proper supplementation, things like having a solid social network. There's so much out there that I think there's a lot of people that are suffering. And if we can once again look back on our lives from our deathbed and say, man, like I did my part. I really helped a lot of people out. That's going to mean more than any millions of dollars. And so really, like, we want to keep on pushing our health and wellness messaging and really get people invested in communicating with their bodies and understanding what their bodies need and want and desire, and working with them so that they can have a great experience of life, so that they can show up, so that they can be a good connected member of their communities. We really love that. And we've got a ton of information on our blog. If you check that out on our website, under media and blog, we have tons of blog posts about mindfulness and healthy diets and current trends in health and wellness. And when we put all that information out there, not because we think it's going to like make our brand better and like, up our SEO and things like that.
Right.
Like, of course, that's a part of anything being online. But we write these articles that aren't stuffed with CBD keywords because we really believe that there is so much information out there. And we hope that people will trust us enough with our integrity and with our honesty that we share with them to use this as a resource to bettering their lives.
And you see this as part of a larger shift.
My personal goal is that.
Yeah. I love that, man. Yeah. This is a larger shift, wouldn't you say? Like this whole, not just using plant medicines to better your life, but what you said, basically all of these alternative methods to just showing up to your family physician and getting another prescription. This is something that I'm really on the forefront of here. All of these alternative health practices, like you said, yoga, meditation, even just exercise and time in nature, now being reflected by science to be, they're comparing time in nature to be as effective as Adderall and some antidepressant medications. And it's like, well, that's not surprising if you, like you said, talk to some of the old school hippies. I've said it on this show, man. I'm never doubting the hippies again. After yoga fixed my shoulder, I had all these dislocations. Yoga fixed my shoulder. I'm never doubting hippies again. So I'm right there with you, Michael. And I love that vision, man. I love that vision. And however we can help out, Growcast is here to help.
Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate being connected to other like-minded individuals, just trying to make the world a better, more connected place.
It's awesome, man. It's fantastic. So BluebirdBotanicals.com, everybody listening. Is that the place to go, Michael?
Yep. You can check out all of our resources there. You can look at our third-party lab results, and you can buy our products. And also look for them on store shelves near you because we're getting out there.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Everybody, BluebirdBotanicals.com. Are you on Instagram, Michael?
Yep, we are on Instagram. I think we're at Bluebird Botanicals. We're also on Twitter at Bluebird Hemp, and we're on Facebook as well if you just look up Bluebird Botanicals. Cool.
Give them a follow, everybody. Follow me at Jordan River IG. Follow the show at Growcast, both those on Instagram. This is Jordan River. This is Jordan River and Michael Harinen, Chief Brand Officer for Bluebird Botanicals, signing off, wishing you an extraordinary day, saying be safe and grow smarter. All right, that's our show, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being loyal listeners. The show has been killing it. I appreciate you guys sharing so much. downloading every episode. I cannot express my gratitude enough. What do we got before we sign off here? Jay Blanked did the beat for the ads. Find him at soundcloud.com/JayBlanked. Shout out to Start to Finish Consulting if you're looking for a consultation. Start 2 Finish 710 on Instagram. And finally, check out our merch at growcastpodcast.com. Click merch. All right, everyone, best of luck in your grows out there. I hope you're killing it. I hope you're growing as a person and growing as a cultivator. Yeah, be safe, everyone. Bye-bye.